you a happy new year, and now we're all back at it and back to work. So I want to go over our agenda for the day. What we're going to do is our welcome. Then we have quite a number of announcements. We're going to talk a little bit about the Standards 2.0 project, some updates on the TABE assessment, some reminders about putting professional development information into Teams, and then a number of updates on what's happening in the PD portal. So we're going to start off with our announcements. Paula, are you on the line?
Howdy, I am, Beth. Thank you. This is Paula Bauer. I have put quite a few dates for our literacy symposiums coming up in the next few months. We have East Texas, which will be in Longview on the 23rd of February. March 2nd, we have one in the north area of Texas in Dallas and another down in south area in Edinburgh. And then on the 29th of March, we have South Plains in Lubbock. On the 27th of April, we have Gulf Coast in Pearland, Texas. And on May 11th, we have Central Texas in Waco, which is also the location for the Literacy Texas 2019 conference. I want to encourage everyone, whether you're an AEL provider or a non-AEL provider, that these seminars are very, very great presentations for professional development opportunities. So come join us if they come up near you. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. And our next announcement, Deb Hargrove, I believe, is going to talk to those next couple of slides for us. Deb?
Yep, thanks, Beth. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm stepping in for Glenda, who is at a training this afternoon on Quality Matters. It's making sure that our online courses are following a strict guideline on professional development quality. So I'm stepping in for her. The first announcement that she wanted to share with everybody was the 2019 Texas Distance Learning Association Annual Conference. It's coming up March 25th through the 28th in Galveston. Looks like the proposal submission was last November. So if you didn't get a proposal in or weren't aware of it, we encourage you at least go to the website and take a look and see if you've got some extra PD money, and you might can attend that. That's a possibility. Next is the TALE Conference. Again, that's February 7th through the 9th. We're going to talk about a pre-conference thing later on, I believe. I think the hotel is filling up fast. I'll ask Olga to pipe in at any time if she's got some updates on TALE. But it's at the Hilton Houston North. We've got a number of sessions that our trained PD folks are going to do, and we're sponsoring a number of sessions for some other trainers to bring you some quality professional development. So if you haven't already made your reservations and register for TALE, we encourage you to do that. Olga, you're on the next slide. Do you have anything to add to TALE before we advance it?
No, I sure don't. But we look forward to seeing y'all there. We have a lot of really great sessions planned, as Deborah said, and we'll see you there.
All right. Thanks, Deb. Laura, we still have a couple of people who are trying to get their audio hooked up. If you could put the call-in number in the chat pod for us one more time, I'd appreciate it. So, Olga Escamilla, I believe the next couple of slides are yours.
Okay. Can everybody hear me okay?
You're a little soft.
Okay. Well, I'll try and speak up.
That's better.
That's better? Okay, good. So our first announcement is our upcoming Workforce Wednesday. It's from 12:30 to 1:30, and the next one is January 16th. And our presenter is Christina Mason from Tarrant County Workforce Development Board, and she's going to present on workforce preparation activities. Let's get specific. So if you have individuals that you believe would want to attend, please have them. We went through the practice this week, and there's some great information that she's going to be sharing, and that she always does. So join us for Workforce Wednesday. Coming up, register in the PD portal. We also have, coming up on Monday, the Texas AEL Manager Monday live webinar, and that is from noon to 1. And this month, we're going to have Mignon Lawson, the Director of Adult Education, Abilene ISD, and she's going to talk about staffing and comprehensive assessment and their connection. And it says, is there a connection? And she's going to talk about their connection. with both of those and how important that is for program success. So if you haven't already, or register in the PD portal and join us on Monday. Thank you. The next announcement we have is there is a new session available, Beyond Poverty and Trauma, beginning with adult literacy. So it's a 3-hour session. It's face-to-face right now, and it's a really great information. Teresa provided this session for 1 hour, I believe, at Literacy Texas this past summer, and left me wanting more. She always has a lot of great activities, a lot of resources for our teachers. So if you think this is a good session for your program, please request it through your PD specialist. It really is a good session to introduce, to get students working beyond that trauma and also integrating reading and writing instruction. So again, if you're interested in the session, request it through your PD specialist. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. And I did have the pleasure of attending Terry's session at Literacy Texas, and I think that you will find the information very helpful. So next up, we have Anne-Marie Molinari. Anne-Marie, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yep. All right. Happy New Year, everybody. I want to talk about a 3-part Tech and Tell series that's about to start this week. I'm very excited about this 3-part series, and it is going to be using primary sources in the classroom. And our guest presenter is Shelly Sievers, and she has presented on numerous Tech and Tells in the past and is going to bring a lot of information. What's interesting about this 3-part series is it is going to be focusing on an acclaimed webinar titled The Stanford History Education Group's Reading Like a Historian. And this is a wonderful website that uses and examines primary sources in the classroom. And she's also going to be looking at the National World War II Museum of New Orleans, which is another website that is full of digital primary source documents. So in an effort to really bring rigor to the Tech and Tells, we've broken this out into 3 sections. Part 1 is going to be this Friday, January 11th, and it's going to be introducing the websites. And then Shelly Sievers from Northeast ISD will return next week, January 18th, and it's going to be part 2. And this is where she's going to go beyond the actual websites and talk about specific activities and also how these websites can help students prepare for several of the high school equivalency examinations, because students do have to work with primary sources. And then finally, on February 1st, Shelly will return for part 3 for more discussion on how to use the websites in the classroom and really dig into those primary sources. So registration is available for part 1 right now, and registration will be available soon for part 2 and part 3. Thanks.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Those sound fascinating. I may have to pop on to Tech and Tell. All right. Deb, I believe you're going to talk to us about our ESL survey that it's getting ready to come out.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks again. I love Glenda's little meme she put on here. I hadn't seen that before. She's a hoot. She wanted me to share with you that she's conducting a survey of ESL instructors. It's going to go out on Friday. It is an electronic survey, but she will be providing you with some paper-based ones for those of your ESL teachers that don't have access to the technology. So what she's looking for is basically what are some things that we can do better for our ESL participants in regards to professional development. she's in the middle of a major project that we're doing called Teltex Academy, and she's identifying those high-quality ESL teachers and going to be doing this training with them. And I think they're looking to find what's the background of our ESL teachers? What do they believe about teaching English? What are some strategies that they use so they can better build the content of what we want to do for the coming year in PD strictly for ESL teachers? So I believe she's emailing that out on Friday, and she's sending some out as well to PD coordinators. And we just ask that you let them know and have your teachers complete the survey by the 31st of this month. I'll double check with her tomorrow, but I believe when she mails you out those surveys, she'll include that self-addressed stamped envelope to mail them back. So please be aware of that. Look out for it for Friday, and call Glenda or email her if you have any questions. I think I have the next slide. Another project that Glenda is working on as part of our Train PD team is the Barbara Bush Foundation X Prize competition. I know some of you have heard about it. I think we had our friends at ESC 20 do an informational session about it a few months ago. We are now partnering with World Ed Education out of Boston, and we're part of their group competition. And what they have is 3 major app providers that have training for literacy topics. I'm trying to find my little note paper here. They're looking for, we want programs to have the opportunity to learn more about the 3 based finalist apps. So they can offer them to their students and provide feedback. The more people we get to participate in this project as part of the competition that we've signed up with World Ed, then there's a stipend that the winner can get, and I don't remember how much it is, but it could be up to like $10,000. I don't know if World Ed would take all that money. I would just suspect they'd share some of it with us if we help them reach that goal. But this is an opportunity on Wednesday, January 24th. Central Time, 3 to 4:30, where they'll give us an overview of the project and the competition and what the expectations are. So the 3 finalists will be the ones who are presenting this webinar on their 3 particular apps. I believe it's CellEd, Learning Upgrade, and John, are you on the call? What's the other one?
It's called, they just changed their name, Word.
The folks. Yeah, the folks in Dallas, isn't it?
Yeah. It was called Codex, but now it's People for Words, I believe.
People for Words. Okay, great. Thank you.
And while I'm on the phone, let me also say that these apps are going to be promoted throughout the year at the Literacy Texas Symposia and at Tele, and we're having a session at Tele to further provide information on the X Prize competition. So we're hoping everybody gets into it. We're working hard to get the
word out.
Apps, to get the word out and get all 3 apps into teams so people can also collect the proxy hours for the events.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we'll be able to do that.
Yep, and Liz asked a question, is the informational webinar for staff or students? It's basically for staff.
Right.
I don't know, would they welcome students to join? I don't know that answer, actually.
It's going to be about the project and how we promote it to staff or to students, but I think it'll be more germane.
More focused to the program level, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you. So if you have any information on that, you can email Glenda or John Stevenson, if you wouldn't mind that, John. We'll put your email address in there as well, and we'll make sure that we can answer any of the questions that you have. But we look forward to you joining us on the 24th, and the link is right there for the WebEx.
And I just want to clarify, Deb, that's a Thursday, not a Wednesday.
It's Thursday the 24th, yeah.
Okay. You said Wednesday earlier, so I was just double checking.
Oh, I did? I'm sorry.
Okay, and I believe the next slide is also for you, Deb.
This one is just an announcement, and Laura, I'll let you pipe in. Before the holiday, Carrie did those online webinars on putting POPs into practice. We actually recorded one of them and received permission from TWC to put one of those in the portal as a curricula. We've just received back the questions for the test questions, and Laura, this afternoon said you were literally working on getting it published. Is it ready yet, or will it be ready tomorrow?
It's up and ready to go.
Perfect. So if you have folks who have not yet participated in those POPs webinars that Carrie did prior to her departing TWC, we have it in the portal now for PD credit. So please share that with your folks that missed having that opportunity to watch it live.
Thanks so much, Deb and Laura.
Yep.
We appreciate you working so hard and diligently on getting those up for us. So the next few slides we're going back to Anne Marie, and she's going to talk to us a little bit more about the Standards 2.0 project. Anne Marie?
Yes. Okay. Hi again, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and give you an update. I first want to say thank you to everybody that has been working really hard to nominate people to be part of the Standards 2.0 project. So just to kind of go back and have a little bit of a reminder, the Standards 2.0 is the second iteration of the Texas Adult Education and Literacy Content Standards, and I think it's worth kind of just reminding everyone again that the original standards and the benchmarks in the content standards have not changed. What this is now, along with the standards, there's going to be this critical alignment of detailed work activities and specific work examples that illustrate how the standards align to the knowledge and skills that have been identified as critical for people going to work in Texas. It's really aligning the standards to the skills and the work demands of specific high demand industry. So it's exciting. I want to just give a shout out to Deb and to our webmaster Jorge, who has been working very, very, very hard to get the publication together, and the new publication of Standards 2.0 will be available during the introductory training for everyone that's been nominated to be part of the training, and then we will work on having an online version available on the website once we make sure everything is accessible. So I wanted to let you have a heads up about that. But it is wonderful. So I want to say thank you to everybody that's been working very hard behind the scenes to make the publication happen. So let's go to the next slide. I'm reading Deb. I know I'm not supposed to look at the chat pod, Deb, but yes, it's literally going to the print shop as we speak. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the Standards 2.0 training now. We have the publication, but we also have the training. And again, thank you to everybody that has nominated a team. And the goal of the training is, the primary goal is to identify and develop teams from each of the grantees and also the sub-grantees, so that we can have the integration and the sustainability of the new Standards 2.0. And so we asked programs to nominate a four-person team consisting of an instructional lead, a career navigator, the content standards coaches, and or an IET basic skills instructor. And originally the nomination process closed, the nomination period closed on December 4th, but it was extended because of the huge response that we've had. And John Stevenson, TWC, extended the nomination period until today. It's actually closing today, and programs who had not nominated anyone yet after that December 8th deadline, was able to nominate one person. So let's go to the next slide because we're about to wrap up here. And so the introductory training for Standards 2.0 is going to be a pre-conference session at Taylor. And so once again, those people who have been nominated by their director and have committed to attending are the ones registered for the pre-conference at Taylor. And then later on, and let me back up a minute, before the introductory training at Taylor, there's going to be a pre-webinar on January 25th, and I'm going to be sending information out about that tomorrow or at the latest on Monday. And then there's also going to be a second part of this training, which is the regional trainings, which will take place in April and May at 6 different locations around the state, and there's going to be a pre-webinar before that too. And then there will also be two webinars for directors. So just to kind of wrap this up, I do kind of want to reinforce that the Standards 2.0 training is a pathway, just like the content standards last year. And so we want everybody to know that it's not just attending the pre-conference at Taylor. It's consisting of several trainings that are going to take place. So that's why we wanted the nomination process to really show that there's going to be a series of trainings. So I just want to thank everybody, and email me if you have questions. And if there's questions in the chat pod, we'll answer them. And I want to see, John, do you want to say anything? I want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
You did a great job, Anne Marie. I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Thank you, Beth.
Okay, thank you, Anne Marie. So at this point, we are going to stop for a moment. That's a lot of information that we've shared up to this point. So let's take a minute and see if anybody has any questions, either about the Standards 2.0 project or any of the other things that we've talked about up to this point. You can either type your question into the chat pod, or if you want to raise your virtual hand, I will call on you and we can unmute you so you can ask your question. So let's just take a moment to see if any questions come up.
Beth, this is Laura.
Yes, Laura.
While people are thinking or perhaps typing, I just wanted to point out that John did put the name of the 3X Prize apps in the chat pod. It was Cell Ed, Learning Upgrade, and People for Words.
Okay, great. Thank you. Give it just a minute. I'm scanning for hands. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and move on, but if you think of something, please go ahead and put it in the chat pod, and we'll be keeping our eye out for them. So next up, we want to talk a little bit about some revisions and the TABE assessment. So I'm going to ask Tracy to unmute herself and take us through the next couple of slides.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone, and Happy New Year. Last week, I believe it was, Mike Johnson came onto the director call, on the Thursday director call with Anson, and there were a lot of great questions on that call, and one of them was regarding the new times that were approved back in the summer, but we wanted to remind everybody about the revised times. A couple things about these revised times. I understand from a lot of programs that had ordered the test direction booklets and the paper-based materials, that they were getting the materials that had the original times that had been approved. And I talked to Mike about that, and he did say it looks like DRC is going to send out their stock of test direction books with the old times in them, which I'm not real happy about. But anyway, so everyone just needs to be super aware and communicate with all of their staff that are administering the test about these revised times. I posted them in the community of practice on assessments. And if you don't belong to that community of practice yet, you might want to join, because we do have conversation going on from time to time in there. And if you have questions about TABE, someone else might have an answer, especially as we roll this thing out for sure. I'm sure everyone's getting so excited about that. But
Tracy,
yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but somebody is saying they are having a hard time hearing. Can you try to speak up just a little bit? Thanks.
Yes, and I have the microphone right by my mouth, but okay. Is that better? I hope.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. All right. Thanks. So it is posted there in the community of practice, and someone did post the where you can find it on the TABE website. And Deb, if you could, Beth or Laura, if you could go to the next slide. Just a reminder that this is what the handout looks like, the PDF that you can download. And again, as Mike was saying on the call last week, and I'll chat about that in a minute, these are maximum allowable times. They were shorter than the original times, which is good. We were really happy about that. You know, it's not as short as we'd like, but it should help with the test administration. So just please be sure to pass this out to those staff that are testing. Make sure they have this handy. I had asked Mike if he could have DRC send out some kind of flyer, like when they're packaging the books and sending them out, could they put a flyer in there saying, you know, the times have changed, and he thought that was a great idea, but he was going to talk to them about it. So anyway, it's going to be up to y'all to make sure everyone uses the correct times. Regarding the call that we had last week with Mike, or the week before, it seems like January is already speeding right by. There were a lot of great questions on that call, and I know a lot of people were still off for the holidays, and our team has transcribed the call, and I believe TWC is wanting to make that into an FAQ type of document, so we're waiting to hear back from them to see if they want us to make the FAQ or if they're going to make the FAQ. A lot of questions on that call had to do with the reports, how to pull reports and issues with reports and all kinds of things about reports on the website, the interface. And so I was thinking that perhaps in the spring at some point I might have Mike do a webinar for everyone about how to pull reports from the TABE interface. So I will get with him about that. So the last thing about TABE I wanted to mention is that at TALE, Jen Wisenot and I are going to facilitate a session on TABE 1112 best practices implementation. We've invited 3 programs that have already dared to start using TABE 1112 in July, and the lessons that they've learned, things that they may have changed as they begin implementing again in January, so that they can share with the field the lessons they've learned. I do believe Mike Johnson's also going to be at TALE, so I'm going to ask him to be there. And we're hoping that this will we don't want this to be a negative session. We want people to come and share ideas. There are a lot of glitches, kind of, sort of, with TABE as it's rolling out. And those are things we can't always do something about, but I think we can share and gain from each other, especially those that have started already using TABE 1112, some of the lessons that they've learned along the way. So I believe that session is scheduled for that Thursday and during TALE at 1:30, and we do have a large ballroom reserved so that we can accommodate more people. So any questions about TABE?
Okay.
I do believe
we have several questions.
Okay,
before we take those questions, Deb, did you have something you wanted to add about the recording?
No,
yeah.
Tracy actually shared it, so I wasn't sure if you remembered to share it, Tracy, but she did. Thank you, though.
Okay.
Okay, great. Sorry.
So do you want to address? Looks like we've got 3 questions in the chat pod.
Okay, I see a question from Stephanie about, is this only for paper-based testing? And Stephanie, are you asking in reference to what? The times, the directions, I'm not sure what your question for sure relates to. I don't want to be sure to answer it correctly. So if you could put that in the chat pod, that would help, or unmute yourself.
She says to the timing.
To the timing. No, the timing, it would affect all of the timing. I think if you're doing it online, students typically tend to move through the tests quicker, apparently. So it applies to both, basically. I think when they're sending out materials, paper-based materials, whether it's the test directions, but most especially the testing books for paper-based, the old times are written, not written, they're typed in there. So just really got to be aware of that. I hope that answers your question, Stephanie. So the next question, I see Risa makes a comment. If you need answer keys for hand scoring, be aware that they are no longer free. This is very true. And I believe you've got to be sure to ask for them. Teresa in Amarillo is asking, is the TABE Taylor session for paper or online? Teresa, that's a good question. What we're just inviting some programs to talk about is how they've implemented the pitfalls they ran into in the fall. Some programs all programs are doing a little bit of both. They're mainly doing online testing, but they're also using the paper-based as well. So we just thought we'd open this up as a venue for some programs to share. I hope that answers the question there. Stephanie asks, has the stop time been adjusted within the online test? Oh, yes. The reading will stop them at 120 minutes. Yes, it should. Yes, that should have been fixed early on. And I'm kind of saying yes, assuming that's happened.
Okay, so if you have any more questions for Tracy, go ahead and put them in the chat pod. And then Tracy, I believe next you're going to talk to us a little bit about entering professional development into teams.
Yes. And I know we sound like a broken record here because we covered this back in November, but please remember these key things about teams and conferences. Train PD enters all sessions for really all conferences in general. We'll enter every session for Tailing and Literacy Texas because we help sponsor those, and every session is related to adult education. So those are already entered into teams. Now, regarding other conferences like COABE, which is coming up at the end of March, other national or state conferences that your staff may attend, we do need to be entering those as well. And there is a form called Teams Conference Documentation. I'm not sure the exact title. At the moment, it escaped me, but every PD specialist has that form, and if you need that form again, we've sent it out a couple of times. But, for example, with COABE coming up, if you have a lot of staff going to COABE, then your program should have some kind of documentation that is sent with your staff that goes so that they can keep up with the sessions that they've attended for your documentation. Then you as the PD coordinator should compile and combine that information into one form that then you submit. You can submit it to your PD specialist. You can submit it to myself or to Beth Ponder. Beth and I input the conference sessions into teams. So please keep that in mind, and please pass this information along to your data entry staff or whoever might enter the PD for your staff. And keep in mind that keynote speeches don't count for PD. Sometimes we've gotten permission from TWC when we've done one for TALE, for example, where we know that the learning objectives have been met and it relates to adult education, and we can document that. But in general, they typically don't. I think I'm done with that slide. And so on this slide is just an example of, there was the CASP conference in El Paso, and the whole conference was not related to adult ed. Some sessions were and some sessions weren't, but I did need documentation from the programs that had staff attend. So I entered them like that. It's entered as state conference. When it's a national conference, of course, I'll enter it as a national conference event. Any of the COABE virtual conferences also, we input those. The TDVC conference, same thing. All of those sessions are not entered automatically because it would be a lot of data entry. So we need the information from your staff in order for you to connect them to the activity into Teams. So are there any questions about that? In the comments, someone puts that the forum I'm referring to is referenced in the PD Coordinator's Community of Practice in the Teams Questions folder. If you need it, your PD specialist can send it to you as well. And it's the Conference Sessions for Teams is the name. So any questions? I know we're going to probably repeat that a couple of times because we find all kinds of things in Teams. That's all I have to say. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
Okay,
and
so
I'm done.
I don't see any raised hands, but if somebody has a question, go ahead and put it in the chat pod. And we're going to move on to new and exciting things happening in the PD portal. Laura, would you like to take it away?
Absolutely. Hi again, everyone. So we have been really productive it helps that we haven't met since November, but we've been super productive with getting webinars through the post-production process. I think we've got 13 or 14 new webinars in the PD portal at this point. Now, these are all webinars that originally happened live, the Tech and Tells, Manager Mondays, and Workforce Wednesdays. And we took them, put them through post-production, made sure that we met some of the accessibility requirements. They've got closed captionings on them, as well as accessible outlines. So you can see on the screen the titles of everything that we have made available within the past 4 to 6 weeks or so. And you'll notice a couple of them, if you read closely, a couple of them have a part 1 and a part 2. So GeoGebra, for example, that's 2 separate webinars, 2 separate curricula that are in the PD portal, but for the sake of space on this slide, we just wrote it as one bullet point. We also have put the standards alignment to industry cluster webinars in there. Those were 3 separate webinars. So those have been put through post-production and into the portal for y'all as well. We have 3 more that's on the next slide, and they are accessibility, and I'm going to let Anne-Marie speak to those for a minute.
Okay, thanks, Laura, and thanks again for all the hard work putting all of the webinars into the PD portal. I just woohoo, like Deb said, is all I can say about that. So what I wanted to talk about here is that these webinars were accessible materials webinars that were scheduled and were provided by the Southwest ADA Center. And many of you are familiar with the Southwest ADA Center, as last year we had the principal attorney, Diego DeMaya, come on and do 3 webinars on implementing and understanding the responsibilities of the Americans with Disabilities Act and what that means when we provide services to people with disabilities. So these webinars were webinars that were done just for the trained PD staff, and the Deputy Director, Marissa DeMaya, did 3 webinars on accessibility. So accessibility is important when you're thinking about digital materials, when anything is digital, whether it's in the PD portal or it's on a website, because it is a responsibility under federal law, Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act, Amendments Act of 1974, which explains that programs that receive federal funding need to make sure that digital materials are accessible to people with disabilities as the same way as people that do not have disabilities. So these webinars went over some of the real hot buttons that everybody has to work with. And so there was an overview of accessibility. There was part 2 was on creating accessible PowerPoint presentations, which is something that we all need to know. And then also part 3 was creating accessible Word documents, which can be sometimes real bugaboos when you're trying to make a document accessible for people with disabilities. So with the hard work of Laura and Katie on the post-production side, we've made these available for all of you if you're interested in completing the webinars for credit and for PD credit. So I just wanted to take an opportunity. And if you want more information on anything having to do with accessibility or anything like that, everyone can always email me, and I'd be more than happy to answer the questions or try to direct you to people that can or resources. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Anne Marie. And we're going to throw it back to Laura to talk about DL Academy Part 1. And do pay attention to this. This is a really important slide.
Yes. So DL Academy Part 1, Nuts and Bolts, we've gotten a slew of feedback from the field over the last year or so. And the course is a little glitchy, and so we have been working to get that cleaned up. But then B, also feedback has told us that the course is currently too long. And so it's taking up too much time for our teachers to complete this PD. It's currently 6 hours. Glenda has been working really hard over the past little while to get this, cleaned up, get a lot of the glitches and the bugs and the technical issues out of it, but then B, she's also whittled it down to where the content can be covered in about 3 to 4 hours. So what this slide says is that on January 31st at midnight, we're going to deactivate the current DL Academy Part 1 course. On February 1st, we're going to remove it from anyone's transcript where it is still in progress. And then on February 4th, we're going to release or re-release DL Academy Part 1. So we have notified participants. We sent an email Monday, I believe it was, to anyone who has it on their transcript as in progress currently. We gave them a heads up and said, this is going to be deactivated. If you want to finish this particular version of the course, you have until January 31st to do it. Now, whether or not you're requiring your folks to take it is between you and them. We're not enforcing anything. We're just letting them know, hey, it's getting taken off your transcript on the 31st. At that point, if you have to take it, you have to start over with the new version. And we have heard back from some people who have said, hey, thanks for the heads up, and other people who say, nah, go ahead and remove it. So it's kind of mixed feedback on that one. So again, DL Academy Part 1 is going to be deactivated on the 31st. We're going to release a new version on the 4th of February. And in the meantime, I forgot to mention, in the meantime, if you have anyone, a new teacher or anyone who absolutely has to take it in the next 3 weeks, who does not have it on their transcript, email me and I'll assign it. We've taken the availability off so that no one new can request it. But I could still assign it if there were kind of a must-have situation. I would just say go into requiring it in the next 3 weeks knowing that it is a little glitchy. But if you do have folks who say it's glitchy, have them contact us rather than spend a lot of time with it and get frustrated. We don't want that to happen. Any questions about that? I know I threw a lot at you guys in a short amount of time there.
Laura, it's Beth. I just want to add a note here that Deb put in the chat pod, thanking John Stevenson at TWC for working with us and noting that his input and guidance was invaluable on getting these changes made.
Yes, I know there's been a lot of collaboration between the two of them. So thank you. Thank you, John. And thank you, Glenda.
Shucks.
She's not on here, but big shout out to Glenda, who's also worked very hard on this.
And I do want to I spoke with Glenda earlier in the day, and I do want to reiterate what Laura said. Please do not let one of your teachers get frustrated trying to finish this old version. If they get stuck, please have them contact us. Let us help them get through it. We just don't want anybody getting frustrated. All right, Laura, I'll send it back to you.
Okay, this next slide is about active user reports. Those are quarterly reports that I send out to PD coordinators, and it's just a list of who is currently associated with your program in the PD portal. I ask for feedback on helping to get it cleaned up, telling me who has left and can be deactivated, who needs to be added, who mistakenly got associated with your program, that sort of thing. And this just really helps us to make sure that we're keeping our seat count as accurate as possible. I believe we have 5,000 seats, and we're currently a little over 4,000 active accounts in the PD portal. This also helps you guys out a lot because it keeps your My Team section really clean, and it ensures that you have access to everybody you need access to. So tomorrow or Monday, I will be sending out those emails with the latest version of your active users. In the past, I've always kind of said, whatever works for you, just get the information back to me. This time around, I'm going to try it a little differently, so please be sure to read the email carefully because there's going to be some specific directions on how I would like that feedback returned to me, so that then on my end it's a little bit of an easier process in getting all of these accounts updated and deactivated. That being said, with this new process, if you guys have any particular thoughts or feedback on it was too cumbersome or this was great, let me know because I want to make sure that we're working well together and not wasting anyone's time. Next, Beth. Thank you. These next two slides that I've got, and these are my last two, I promise, I'm almost done. These next two slides are really about PD portal help. And how we can get help to our end users as easily as possible. So what Katie and I did, it was right before the holidays, we took all of the online help videos that were on the website under the help videos section, and we compiled them into what's called a library. And so the library really just takes those videos, puts them together, and we put it on transcripts. It's technical assistance only, and it is not for PD credit. So there's no certificate. There are no hours of completion awarded for doing this. Again, we were just trying to try a new avenue for getting those help videos to the users as directly and easily as possible. So this icon in the middle of the screen, or the image you see where it says PD Portal Help Videos, it has the little picture of the building with columns. That icon with the columns, that is indicative of a library. So everyone's got it on their transcript now, all 4,100 something users. And then there's also a dynamic learning assignment where any new account that's created automatically gets this assigned to their transcript. So as you have new folks join your program and join the PD portal, this is something that will always be on the active section of their transcript, and you can refer them to. Oh, you don't know how to get your certificate? Go look at the help videos. You know, we've got short videos on there for everything. And then, as always, with our help videos, if you guys have suggestions for new topics and new videos to add, I'm always open to hearing those. We have a question. Tara says, oh, this goes back to active users. Programs who are in the consortium, will user reports be sent to the PD coordinator or provider PD coordinators? So with those, so HGAC, Dallas, and Workforce Solutions of Tarrant County, each individual subrecipient is going to get them. So Wharton will get their own, let's see, I'm blanking on the other HGACs. San Jacinto, Lone Star, all of those subrecipients will get their own list. And next slide. Back to PD Portal Help. Just a reminder that Katie and I hold office hours every Thursday from 11 to 11:30. This is just another resource for folks to get a hold of us and get some help if they need it. We encourage people to email us, pdportal@tamu.edu, for information on how to join office hours. We also have it on the web page in the PD portal under the Help tab at the top. And then, in addition, we're always available during phone. We're always available on the phone during business hours, which for us is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So if they're having problems, they can call us. But then also if they want information about how to join office hours, they can call us and get that information as well. I think I'm done. Time for a drink of water. Do we have any other questions?
Any questions for Laura? Go ahead and either raise your hand or you can put them in the chat pod. And I want to thank Laura and Katie for all of their hard work supporting all of us as we're learning and using the portal. So thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
All right. I don't see any raised hands, so we're almost to the end, folks. Wow, we filled our hour this time, didn't we? So I have one more slide, and then we'll have a chance for any additional questions. Deb, would you like to speak to this one?
Yeah, I will. Thanks, Beth. So some of you may have heard this news already. If not, we wanted to make you aware that our fearless leader, Harriet, after 21 years at TCAL, will be retiring at the end of January 31st. Right now, our transition plan is that I will have an opportunity to try and fill her shoes as managing and communications director. Beth will have no problem filling my shoes as director of professional development. And then we have some other reorganization stuff that we're working on. We haven't gotten the final approval yet, but we have two other staff that we're asking to step up into leadership roles. So we're not permitted to share that just yet. I emailed HR today and said, can we please say it? And they said, no, not yet, but we have no doubt that that'll happen. Harriet, we were going to share this in December, but we ended up canceling the PD coordinator's call in December. And Harriet, she put her little Bitmoji there on the right-hand side. She I can't really speak for her, but I can tell you that she loves all of you dearly, and she's really going to be very, very, missed very much. If you would like to send her maybe a card, I'm going to put our address here in the chat pod. I'll let Miriam know, our front office assistant, that she can collect those, and then we can hand those to her at her retirement event. Now, in saying that, I do want to share some news that she is currently dealing with some personal issues with her father. He's in failing health. So if you don't see her on email, lately, or you've sent her an email and she hasn't replied, please understand that and forward that email or any questions that you might have to Beth or myself, and we'd be more than happy to help you. She has been checking email from time to time. I haven't looked if she's called into this, but I know that she wanted you to know that she loves all of you dearly, and she's really going to miss adult ed. So with that, I'll just pass it back on to Beth.
Thank you so much, Deb. Okay, next to last slide. Here's your opportunity to ask questions about anything professional development related. So we'll take a minute. Go ahead and put something in the chat pod or raise your hand. And then if we don't have any questions, we will say we are done for the day with 1 minute to spare. We have a comment. Harriet will be missed. Congratulations, Dr. Hargrove and Beth, on your new roles. Thank you so much. We appreciate that, Ileana. And Harriet will be missed. We're trying not to panic, but. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and we will see you online next month. So we'll leave the room open for just a few minutes. Thank you guys so very much.